Hello everyone, JC here and welcome to 6 tips to climbing the solo queue ladder in League of Legends. Always looking to improve. The fact that you're watching this video right now is already a huge step taken into showing initiative on wanting to improve, so congratulations to you. But in order to apply what you learned here, there are a few steps that needs to be taken. This first piece of advice will apply to a large majority of people, but in order to improve, egos need to be set aside. Be willing to accept that everyone has certain things that can be improved on and nobody has perfect gameplay, not even Faker. And quite honestly, everyone makes mistakes, it's just human nature. If it happens in game, just acknowledge what you did wrong, what you could have done better, and apply it to your future games. All of us can improve in many different ways to ultimately reach our rank goals. This video will touch base on everything you need to know in order to be successful. Dealing with tilt and loss streaks. Have you ever been on such a long loss streak, even after taking breaks and coming back you would still keep losing? It could be that you played bad in some of those games, but for the most part you think you did quite well. Unfortunately, that is commonly known as tilt. For a lot of us that went down this road, we would eventually try to stop the loss streak by simply playing safer, in hopes that if you minimize any risky plays, that there's a chance out there, some miracle will happen that your teammates will just pull through. In some cases, this can work, but it is extremely unreliable, and here's why. By playing extremely safe, you are essentially playing into a losing lane by giving up all lane pressure. Sure, you don't lose as badly as someone that was feeding, but that is not the playstyle you would go for previously when you were climbing the ladder. So you may be asking, what is the solution then? My personal solution for overcoming tilt is simple. If I lose 3 games in a row, I will stop for the day. The worst thing you can do as a solo queue player is to keep playing out the loss streak and potentially dropping divisions or even tiers. Personally, I have 2 accounts both in mid to high diamond. Whenever I go on a huge loss streak on my main, I would switch over to my Smurf account and try to climb. By switching over, you are in a better state of mind knowing that the game has now been dialed back to easy mode. With that in mind, you tend to play a lot better. And to prove that this method works, I played both accounts evenly, back and forth. You can clearly see a noticeable discrepancy in win rate even though both accounts are in the same elo, getting paired up against the same players and have relatively the same number of games played. So once you have regained your confidence and feel like you can win on your main account again, that is when you should give yourself another shot at breaking the loss streak. Having the right attitude. This does not necessarily mean just don't be toxic, because there are plenty of players who are toxic in Challenger, but toxicity is a factor that will hinder your team's performance, which can lead to losses. More specifically, do not blame your teammates. To put it simply, if you yourself, the player, is perfect, then statistically there's only 4 people on your team who could potentially be toxic, AFKers or intentional feeders, as opposed to the higher chance of 5 people on the enemy team having those unsportsman players. As long as you perform consistently well every game, you can rest assured that factors outside of your control will happen more often on the enemy team. At the end of the day, the only person that will help you climb solo queue is yourself. It goes without saying, but the key word in solo queue is solo. Work on yourself and not others. If you have toxic teammates, don't type anything to them, just hit them up with the mute button. All necessary communication can be done through smart pings. Not all games are winnable, but just know that somehow, someday, you will be rewarded equally when the trolls and AFKers are on the enemy team. If you yourself isn't the problem, then statistically trolls will appear more often on the enemy team, 5 times out of 9. On that note, being a veteran League player myself and having my account since beta and playing through solo queue for as long as the most experienced League player in the world, I can safely say that 90% of the time, nothing important in chat has ever come up that cannot already be communicated through smart pings. Learn from high elo players. Now, I don't mean tune into the latest LCS tournament streams or watching 5 to 10 minute Night Blue or Boxbox highlight videos, but rather watch full gameplay of high elo players going through the same solo queue struggles as you are, from laning phase to, the most important, closing out a win. Doing this will help you build up the fundamentals, which includes champion-specific mechanics, a game plan on how exactly you want to close out and win the game, decision making, and how to CS. Particularly for low elo players around gold to bronze, getting good CS along with basic decision making itself will put you at a huge advantage over others in your bracket, and you will see a huge improvement in your rank as well. As a general rule for CS, 100 CS every 10 minutes, 200 every 20 minutes, and 400 CS every 40 minutes. You get the idea. The key is to try to be consistent with this every game. Practice a small champion pool. As a general guideline, pick 3 champions that you are really good at and only play those champions in order to climb in ranked. This is similar to the concept of a one-trick pony, which would be taking this idea to the next level, but solely playing one champion. This works because the player becomes so good at the champion's mechanics and knows their limits inside out that they simply outperform their enemies. Having 3 champions gives you the leeway of fitting multiple roles, but at the same time not compromising on your ability to play these champions at your highest level by too much. If you play a wide variety of champions in ranked, you are actually hindering your ability to play at your best. Game knowledge. This one is simply knowing the enemy champion's abilities, cooldowns, and damage potential. If you're a laner, this could extend to jungle gank timings and knowing how to respond accordingly to every given situation. Unfortunately, there is no fast way to learning game knowledge other than to play a lot and watch high elo players. Personally, my channel has full gameplay videos where I go in depth with my thought process and decision making for every play I make. If you're interested, feel free to check them out. Links will be down below or at the end screen of this video. In addition to all of these, if you're very keen to speed up the process, jump into normals or ARAM and play different champions to find out how their abilities work and what their damage potential is. It will drastically speed up the learning process. These are my 6 tips on how to climb out of your elo. For more content, please check out my channel, subscribe, or follow me on Twitter because whenever I upload content, it gets posted there for some reason. Thank you so much for watching to the very end, and cheers.